Let's take a look at what variables are and why we need them for scripting. Before we get technical, let's think about what we need when we go shopping. If you don't want to forget anything, we make a shopping list. Here we have bananas, a notebook, a few bottles of water, a chew toy for your dog, and new running shoes. Because your dog used your old ones as a chew toy. Now what does this have to do with making a game? Well, when you write a game, it also needs to remember things. Just like you kept your items on a shopping list, your game remembers things through variables. With variables, we can keep track of things like the player's health, his current score, and the player's name, amongst a whole lot of other things. In Unity, you need to give your variable a type. I'll start with the three most popular ones, and those are int or integer, which is a whole number like 1, 2, 3, float or floating point, which is a decimal number like 50.5, and then string, which is just a combination of letters and numbers. In this example, we use the string to store a message to display for the score and the score value of 1, 2, 3. Or another example is you can use it for a racing game to display your lap time. That's quite a high level overview, and there's a lot more to variables than what I just discussed. And I know that already is a bit much to take in, but don't worry, I'm going to slow down now and do this. Well, one step at a time, right? So let's see. Let's create a new empty object. Select it, and this is using Unity 2021. So visual scripting, formerly Bolt, is now standard. So I don't have to go in and install Bolt separately. It's standard. If you go to Window, Visual Scripting, just in case you missed my last video, under Visual Scripting Graph, which I have open at the bottom. So let's get started. Add component. So formerly it was Flow Machine, but now with the new version it is Script Machine. Exactly the same as Flow Machine. I haven't noticed any differences yet. If I do, I'll let you guys know. Okay, so let's create a new script. I'm going to call these, let's just call it V scripts for short. So it's short for visual scripts. And variables test. That is fine. I'm going to delete updates and leave start. Okay. So we have our graph inspector on the left, and I haven't discussed this with you guys yet. So graph inspector, when you create your script machine, you'll see there's a title and summary. So you can just give it a title. This is just for your own use, just for maintenance purposes. And testing simple variables. And this has no impact on how your script is actually used. It is just a description for you or for members of your team. Okay, at the bottom you will see there's a section called Blackboard, and this is where you create your variables. I'm going to focus on graph variables for today. I'll get into the others later on as the need arises. For now, graph and object variables are the important ones, but for today I'm sticking to graph, and I'm going to call this one here, let's call it score, since it's something that will make sense in a game. So you have to, if you have to keep track of your score in a game, you will have a variable called score, which you will have of type integer. Now integer is a whole number. You cannot add characters. If I try to type characters in here, nothing happens. If I type a number in, it's fine. If I try to add a decimal point, it does not work. Okay, so I'm going to start this, and just for testing purposes, I'm just going to give it a value of 50. And now when I press play, your script will initialize, your variable will get created with a value of 50 to start off with. So let's test this out. Now there's no easy way to test it out other than printing it out. So I'm going to drag from this output node, output port, I'm so sorry. I think I got the terminology wrong in some previous videos, sorry for that. So output port, I'm just going to click and drag and click again and search for print. This little pop-up box, by the way, is called a fuzzy finder. And what's happening with my... Okay, so it turns out I found a bit of a bug. I think it's a bug. So what happened was when I created the project, Visual Scripting Graph was already open. And then when I created the script machine, I just started editing it. But here's the thing, I had to close it. So if you encounter that issue that I encountered earlier where it didn't pick up my print method, just close your script graph. Go back to Window, Visual Scripting, and click on Visual Scripting Graph then. And what happened when I did that, sorry, I actually cut the recording while I was busy figuring out what was going wrong. But what happened was it started initializing the Visual Scripting, which took about a minute to do. So just a heads up on that. Okay, so now I can go and click on the output port and print. Okay, so I'm looking to print. And previously we printed out a string literal, if I'm not mistaken, and now we're going to print out the score. So easy way to do it, I can just click and drag on the left here, click and drag this variable in. You'll see it shows get variable. Another way to do it is to right click and search for score or whatever variable you have created. And select it like that. Now I can join these ports together, and if I click play now, it should print out 50 in my console. Okay, 50. Just printing out 50 isn't very helpful, is it? A lot of the time you will want to print out what this 50 actually means. So printing out something like the score is 50 is a lot more meaningful than just printing out 50. So how do we do that? I'm gonna disconnect this port. So if you right click on either end, it will break the connection. And I'm going to create a string literal. So if I right click, search for string literal, I'm going to enter a value here. The score is colon space. Let's just drag this above that. The order doesn't matter. What matters is the order that you connect these two. So I'm going to add another unit here, and we're searching for concat. Which stands for concatenate, which means to join two strings together. So I'm going to select this. I'm not sure. Just let me see what the first one does. I don't think this is what I'm looking for. I think I'm looking for the second one. So concat with 2 arguments. So this means I'm expecting 2 inputs. In other words, this first. So that will be the score is. And then the score value, I'm going to connect to arg1. And here, I actually don't need to connect anything to this flow because I can just connect it directly. So this output port over here will go to the message. And this confused me a lot because I always thought that you have to have something flowing in and flowing out. Okay, but the way this works is it will go into start, go to your print, figure that it needs a message and then kind of work backwards to see what dependencies it needs. So this message is made out of concatenating the score is and 50, and it will be set to this message. It will be printed out. So now if I press play, it will print out the score is 50. Okay, great. Now let's see how we will do this in C#. Let's go back to project, assets. I'm going to right click, create folder, scripts. Right click, create C# script, and variables test, and open it up. While Visuals, okay, it's opening up quickly now. Sometimes it just takes forever. Okay, update I don't need. Start. Remember, when you're adding your code, look for start and in between these curly brackets, or it will not work. You'll probably get an error if you put it in the wrong place. Okay, actually, we need to go before start. Sorry. Variable, creating a variable, and this is going to be equivalent to your graph variable. So I'm going to call it int, is short for integer. In Visual Scripting it is full integer. Just want to show you that again. So that is integer. Okay, in C# it is just int. And I will call it score here as well. And let's make it different to our other scripts so we know we are looking at the C# one when we get our value in the output. I want to put a bit of space there. Remember, the white space doesn't matter in your script, so you can have as much as you want to. You just neaten things up. So int, that's how you declare a variable. You first start with the type, in this case int, short for integer. Again, score is the name of your variable, and you can assign a value immediately. A lot of the times you will actually just create it like this, int score, and then you will set a value in Unity itself. I'll show you how to do that in the next lesson, but for now I will just set the value here directly. Int score equals 75. I'll come here between the curly brackets and print score. Okay, so I'm going to do it in exactly the same way as I did the bolt one to start off with. I just printed out the score straight away, and this is just going to help with the comparison as well. So let's get back to console. I've got my game object here where I have my visual script on. I'm going to disable that, create a new game object, and let's just call this C# or whatever you want. What do I call it? Just click and drag it. Okay, now it will execute. So press play here, and I will get 75 in my console. Now I want to print out the score is 75. How do I do that? The way I do that is just add double quotes and a plus. And inside the double quotes, I will put my actual text. So the score is colon space. So this is actually a string. You know, you can have a variable of type string and a string literal. So like we did in the hello world example, we created a string literal. This is exactly the same thing. So your text must go inside double quotes, and then if you want to join a number or any other variable afterwards, you have to put a plus afterwards. Plus, and then score, make sure it's exactly the same even with the exact case. So if this had, for example, a capital C
instead of a lowercase c, that will not compile. You see it's giving me an error here. Cannot find score. So case matters. And now that's all there is to it. If I press play here, so this is just compiling the script. The score is 75. Great. That worked fine. Oh, by the way, after you've edited your C# file, make sure that you save it. I forgot to mention it. I forgot to mention it in the last tutorial as well. So sorry about that. It's just so natural for me to edit and just save and go out of it. So even forget that I'm doing it. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful. This is a very basic intro to variables. I think I'm going to do another, possibly 3 little tutorials on variables. So hang on to your hats. Okay, until then, enjoy.